Check Point Certified Troubleshooting Expert 156-585 updated questions are the best material for you to clear the test easily. 1. What are the 4 ways to insert an FW monitor into the firewall kernel chain? A. Relative position using location, relative position using alias, absolute position, all positions. B. Absolute position using location, absolute position using alias, relative position, all positions. C. Absolute position using location, relative position using alias, general position, all positions. D. Relative position using geolocation, relative position using inertial navigation, absolute position, all positions. 2. Check Point's PostgreSQL is partitioned into several relational database domains. Which domain contains network objects and security policies? A. User domain. B. System domain. C. Global domain. D. Log domain. 3. Which threat prevention daemon is the core threat emulator, engine and responsible for emulation files and communications with Threat Cloud? A. ctasd. B. inmsd. C. TED. D. Scrub. 4. The difference in debugging AS2S or C2S using Check Point VPN Client, VPN? A. There is no difference. B. The C2S VPN uses a different VPN daemon and there a second VPN debug. C. The C2S VPN cannot be debugged as it uses different protocols for the key exchange. D. The C2S client uses browser-based SSL VPN and can't be debugged. 5. What are some measures you can take to prevent IPS false positives? A. Exclude problematic services from being protected by IPS, SIP, H323, etc. B. Use IPS only in detect mode. C. Use recommended IPS profile. D. Capture packets. Update the IPS database, and back up custom IPS files. 6. What is the function of the Core Dump Manager utility? A. To generate a new core dump for analysis. B. To limit the number of core dump files per process as well as the total amount of disk space used by core files. C. To determine which process is slowing down the system. D. To send crash information to an external analyzer. 7. Which of the following daemons is used for threat extraction? A. Scrub. B. Extract-D. C. Tex. D. TEDx. 8. URL filtering is an essential part of web security in the gateway. For the security gateway to perform a URL lookup when a client makes a URL request, where is the sync request forwarded from if a sync request is required? A. rad kernel space. B. URLF kernel client. C. URLF online service. D. rad user space. 9. You are upgrading your NOC Firewall on a Check Point appliance from R77 to R8030, but you did not touch the security policy after the upgrade. You can't connect to the new R8030 SmartConsole of the upgraded firewall anymore. What is a possible reason for this? A. New console port is 19009 and a access rule TS missing. B. The license became invalid and the firewall does not start anymore. C. The upgrade process changed the interfaces and IP addresses and you have to switch cables. D. The IPS system on the new R80.30 version prohibits direct SmartConsole access to a standalone firewall. 10. You are running R80 XX on an open server and you see a high CPU utilization on your 12 CPU cores. You now want to enable hyperthreading to get more cores to gain some performance. What is the correct way to achieve this? A. Hyperthreading is not supported on open servers, on Check Point appliances. B. Just turn on HAT in the BIOS of the server and boot it. C. Just turn on HAT in the BIOS of the server and after it has booted enable it in cpconfig. D. In dish runs set HAT on.